Welcome to the first lesson of Module 6, and in this lesson we're going to be looking at how to keep your characters balanced. Now, you might find that you are drawing your characters in a way where they seem to possibly be falling over from one side to another, or that they kind of tilt and they just don't seem balanced. And one of the reasons for this is that in general, it's because the head, or the center of gravity in general, but the head is not aligning with the feet on the ground. And whenever this happens, the character tends to seem to be falling over. Now, the simple rule is, if you can remember to make sure that the character's head is in between the legs or in line with a single leg, then the character in general will feel fairly balanced. I'm just going to sketch out an example here. It's a very basic, temporary, rough pose. And here we have our character's head nice and in the middle of the feet, right in between the feet. And you can certainly draw that same head in line with just a single foot. Let's do another example here. And the character will still seem fairly well balanced. So whenever the head kind of leaves the range of the feet, the pose will tend to seem unbalanced. However, this is mainly discussing it in terms of standing poses. What if, for example, your character was leaning over or bending over? So, for example, their head is here. We're going to draw their body like this. Maybe their legs are over here. And maybe they're reaching down to grab something. Well, why does this still look balanced? And this brings us to the topic of the center of gravity. As long as the center of gravity of the form is falling in line with the feet or around the area of the feet, generally in the middle of the feet, you should be good. Your character won't appear to be falling over any particular way. So just make sure that you understand where the bulk of the weight of the form is. If a character is peering over to one side, maybe they're looking over a pier or something like that. As long as, in this instance, let's assume that the character's legs do not fit in with the theory that we've learned here. As long as the bulk of the mass is in line with the feet, or that center of gravity is kind of projecting down into the middle of the feet or onto a single leg, you should be good and your characters won't appear to be falling down. So in these examples here, a good general rule is that we want to try to make sure that the head is usually aligning with the leg or in between both legs. And in terms of bending over poses or poses where the head is clearly outside of the form and not aligning with the legs at all, that the general center of gravity is aligning with the form, right? So that the bulk mass or the weight is aligning down to between the legs or around the leg areas. And in this third instance here, where the head is totally not aligning at all, but the bulk of the mass is, again, between the legs, you should be good. Your characters won't look like they're falling over. And then you may be asking, well, what about in the instance of a character running or jumping or flying through the air or what have you? How do you make sure that they don't appear to be falling over in that instance? Now, the key really is, if you are in fact drawing it in such a way where it's clear that the character is doing an active pose, then you won't really have much of an issue, because the viewer really assumes, based on the activity, that yes, this character is in motion, and as such it doesn't really need to align. It makes sense based on the context of what you're drawing. So keep these three things in mind and you should be good and your characters won't fall over. This is a nice, easy one to remember. Great. See you in the next lesson.